Have you ever thought to yourself, I would really love to hire a business coach, but I just can't afford it? Are you a business that's struggling? Or are you a business that is on the verge of going to the next step, taking your business to the next level, increasing your profits? Are you chasing the $1 million that everybody seems to be chasing on the internet? Or are you just trying to get by? In today's video, I am reacting to Codie Sanchez's video called I Spent $120,000 on a Business Coach so you don't have to. My name is Erica, and I am a business researcher. I research for businesses, and I'm also a flight attendant. I've done the research for over 20 years, and I've done the flight attending for 7.5 years, and I have seen businesses all over this country. I studied every kind of business model that's out there, and I see mistakes all the time. I started this channel to try to help small businesses turn their business around and even take their business to the next level. So whether you are a struggling business or you are ready to take your business to the next level, I'm hoping the reaction video today can actually help add to your cache of advice that you're getting from people all over the place. This video, I have just reacted to it, and I realized my previous intro didn't quite apply, so I'm re-recording the intro right now. And basically what I would say is, if you are a small business that's struggling, you might find that this advice doesn't apply to you, but I add my 2 cents throughout the video specifically for small businesses that are struggling and show you how you might apply it to your business as well. So hopefully that will help you as far as the reaction goes. If you are just a business that's ready to take it to the next level, I think her advice could definitely help. So let's go ahead and hit play on this. Let's react to Codie's video together. I'll admit, paying $120,000 a year to a business coach sounds a little ridiculous, but I did it. The question is it worth it? This is $120,000. It feels like a lot more than it looks. Okay, real quick, I'm going to speed this video up. I'm going to put it at 1.5 speed, just because that way we don't have to watch it for the full 20 minutes. It can be shorter. I don't really want to add 20 minutes to the information that I want to say to you guys. So if you don't like how fast she's talking, just go into your playback speed and slow it down. You might have to speed it back up when I talk. Otherwise, I'm going to sound like I'm on drugs, which I'm not. But let's see how this sounds real quick. I paid $120K to learn what I'm going to tell you about in this video. I think it's free, not free. Meet Jordan, approach to CEOs, CEO himself, grew the Motley Fool to hundreds of millions, and also ran the fastest growing media company I could find, a company called The Hustle, that then got sold to the HubSpot. He's a stud. And now he's going to be full more stud because I hired him because I was struggling in a few areas of my business and basically life priorities. But after a year, I realized that, holy hell, this guy's good. And not just for CEOs. He's good for any of us trying to achieve something.
Because I've been an operator my whole life, everything we talk about, I've done, I've experienced. And if I haven't, I can put myself in those shoes, and I'm doing it totally objectively speaking because I don't really have a skin in the game. And so my incentive is just to be honest with it.
So I begged him to publicly let me share his stuff. So I thought, let's steal his homework, shall we? Course thing he taught me is focus will unfuck you. Your biggest problem is you're already so distracted and don't even know what you want. Overwhelmed from clicking from screen to screen, your tech blowing up, your to-do list surrounding you. It's just a lot.
High performers tend to get really frustrated when you throw way too many things at them because the best businesses in the world and the people that are the most successful can do one thing that they're focused on for like an extended period of time. Like endurance and focus, I think is actually underrated.
So he gave me this list. Amazing. Folded one thing list. Basically, you choose one thing that if you get it done that day or week, it makes everything easier. You keep everything not on that list off of your to-dos for the day, and you focus on the 80% solution that can be driven by the 20% action. Check this thing out. What one thing, if you accomplish it, will make everything else you do irrelevant or really, really easy? I realized a couple of these were entire head of acquisitions. I need to build out our holdco faster. These others then get moved to the next up things. And before I decide that my one thing is absolutely true, I have a 12 check on it that's are you really fucking sure? Because most people will replace the important with the urgent, and the two are rarely the same. So you need to focus not just on the thing that's hitting you in the face continuously, but on the thing that will actually deliver you the life, the win that you want. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of liking this in chipmunk mode, man. Never seen the Hulk hit somebody so fast. It was pretty funny. And real quick, I'm going to pause this. I'm going to grab my sweater because it's getting kind of cold in here. It is December 6th. And temperature's dropping fast right now. So hold on one sec. I'll be right back. And I'm back. So let's continue this. Who, not how. Every problem in your life is not a how problem. It's a who problem. He told me rather than trying to figure out how to do something, you're better off finding who can help you do it. He literally threw the book. Just kidding, it's not this book. It was a different book called Who Not How. But he did make me read every single page of it. If you want to lose weight, who can help you? If you want to make more money by being better at sales, who do you know who sells more than you? Go steal somebody else with 10,000 hours. By the way, that someone, when you don't have any money, can just be a friend. It's free. And then when you do have money, that someone should usually be a hire or a coach. The more money you start making, the more people you hire will become your army of who's.
Most of the time, it's a accountability issue or an ownership issue, which gets back to who. So it's like, oh, we're having trouble. Sales are down this month. Okay, well, it's usually the issue isn't just tactical. You can tweak this lever, tweak that lever, but it's who is responsible for that, making sure that that person understands their responsibility and their accountability and that there's clarity around it. So it's typically where I find that things fall down is where either nobody's accountable for something or more likely is when everybody's accountable for it. So everyone's like, oh yeah, I think that's me, but it's also her and it's also him. And then they just started, so they're doing some of that too. And those are usually the scenarios where you have a problem.
I think this one has made me more money than any other. And he calls it niche experts create big returns. I hire specialized consultants who have already won in each industry. The idea is hourly pay instead of salary. Weekly calls leads to, I don't know, 10 million plus in revenue. I hired one consultant for YouTube, 500K subs in 6 months. I hired one newsletter consultant, 250K subscribers in 1.5 years. Jordan was actually one of these. So he gave me the best advice broadly, but also hugely niche advice on newsletters, growing them, media teams. And then I steal his 10,000 hours instead of doing it myself. If I can tell you something for sure, values eat tactics for breakfast. Value speed instead of task management. You value innovation instead of tracking. You value attention to detail instead of micromanagement. When you turn the things you want done into values as opposed to to-dos, it translates to less oversight, meaning you have to watch everybody do every single thing. And this small change not only will change the way that you act, but will also change anybody on teams that you manage or work with. I gotta interrupt the video for this. I wanna give a shout out to our partners at Ethos. Let me tell you.
Okay, let me stop that real quick. So if you're in a small business, you may be thinking, yeah, I can't hire anybody to help me. I'm already as tight as I can possibly be. Where can I possibly fit somebody else in? At this point, I want to recommend to you the book, The 4-Hour Workweek by Timothy Ferriss, if you haven't read that already. He's got some excellent resources about where to hire people like what she's talking about, people to help you, maybe with your newsletter, maybe with your website. I believe most small businesses don't bother with a newsletter, and that can be a mistake. Whether you're in a restaurant, whether you're retail, whether you're a service industry, being able to capture your customers' email information, their cell phone, like their text messages, stuff like that, that gives you a chance to basically market again. And I have found in the business world that the best customers are return customers, the ones that are going to be loyal to you. So many times businesses just focus on new customers all the time that they forget to treat their returning customers like the important customers that they are. Because if they're returning, that means they like you and they're going to spend money with you, and you should consider them VIP. So capturing stuff like emails and text messages allows you to market to them so that they can return again and again. If you're in a business where you haven't focused on returning customers, you've been focusing on getting new customers, you might want to hire someone to help you start collecting that information, start organizing that information, and create some kind of sales funnel for your business, no matter what kind of business you're in. That way, let's say you have a physical business, you can target people and say, hey, come in on these days, get an extra VIP deal, that kind of stuff. And honestly, one of the companies that I believe 4-Hour Workweek would recommend is Upwork. Upwork, you can hire people from all around the world, all kinds of different countries. The exchange rate is fantastic. You can hire them for like $7, $8, $9, $10 an hour. Fiverr with 2 R's is a good one to get help. Not to go through this channel, I am going to suggest other things that you could use to help your business expand. But for now, I would just say, if you wanted to follow up on that step and your small business, obviously they're looking at big business issues, although they're not like a huge business. From what I understand, she runs multiple businesses. She's looking at CEO status, where you might just be looking at your one business and you're not worried about running multiple business or huge amounts. You're just trying to survive. So if that's the case, consider picking up the 4-Hour Workweek. It was written a long time ago, so some of the sources are probably outdated, but it's going to give you an idea. And I believe the source he originally recommended has become Upwork. I forget what it was called before it was Upwork, but I did jump on it before it was Upwork, which is why I'm now with Upwork. And I've used them for a lot of things. Let's get back into this and see what else she has to say. I'm going to jump past the sponsor. If you want to see what she has to say about the sponsor, the link to her video will be down in the description. Feel free to click on that and watch that. So let's see where we can go from here.
This one we workshop together. Don't set goals, set sacrifices. He basically said goals are overrated. Instead, you want to say, what are you willing to give up in order to get the things that you want? If you want to make $100,000 a year, are you willing to give up the fear of negotiating with your boss? Are you willing to give up the fact that you have to work nights and weekends to do it? Are you willing to give up the fact that you might have to put in 1,000 resumes in order to get a job that gets you to 100K a year? Most people set goals and then they don't realize that those goals require a payment. Every single goal has a price. Now, when I set goals, they look like this. It basically is, hey, I want to hit 250,000 subscribers. I'm willing to spend $10,000 to do that. I'm willing to work on my newsletter for 5 hours every weekend, even though nobody else is going to. And I'm willing to hire one person part-time who's going to help me achieve these goals. These are the things you're willing to do. And it turns out that the things that you want, they accept the payment.
Have your North Star of what you are trying to achieve. And so then you have to ask yourself, when all these other interesting things come at you, you could be like, ooh, we could actually go launch a syndicate. We could actually do a lot of work with potential partners and sponsors. Is that something that would help like guide you towards that North Star? And if the answer is no, it's like, well, maybe you shouldn't do that right now. I think it's just hard to do that because there's so much exciting shit to do. I think that like that's where a lot of entrepreneurs end up kind of failing because they're getting distracted. They're doing too many different things.
The thing is, you won't be able to do all the things that you want to do. So you got to pick. The problem is you have so many things you want that you aren't sure what you should do next. So if that's you, he introduced me to this thing called the upside downside matrix. Let's do a live decision matrix so you can see how this works.
Okay, real quick, I just want to pause this. I kind of feel like this doesn't necessarily apply to small businesses, if you know what I mean. And if you're a business owner, you're just trying to survive, you don't really have the luxury of setting goals. You know what I mean? I feel like goals are for when you're advancing to the next level of your business. And if you're just trying to survive, like I said, you don't really have the luxury of setting goals. You might be in a very difficult situation where you don't have enough money and stuff like that. I would say the sacrifices that you have to make, sometimes it's not what you expect it to be. Before I became a researcher, I did run my own company helping small businesses with bookkeeping and office administration, website design, online marketing, and stuff like that. A lot of the stuff that I found that small businesses had was the owner ends up living paycheck to paycheck because they're spending so much money on the business. And there was one client that I had, she ran a restaurant and she was definitely struggling and she could have done so much better. One of the suggestions that I made to her was that when her restaurant was empty between lunchtime and the dinner time, she should close the restaurant down for like 2 hours, send the people home and save the money on paying the employees, paying the overhead. She didn't want to do that. She wanted to keep them on the clock. She wanted to keep the restaurant open and she really didn't have the money for it. So if I were to say anything, I would say that, instead of goals, the sacrifice, the thing does make sense. You should think about what kind of stuff that you would have to sacrifice if you're looking to make your business survive. But do think about sacrifices. If you can think of sacrifices that are outside of the box, that might be a way to help your business survive.
How about this? Should I subscribe to Codie's YouTube? Should I not subscribe to Codie's YouTube? Bad idea. I can already tell you how this works, but let's just play this game out. All right. So first we've got upsides, then we've got downsides, then we've got remedies. Things you can do to minimize the upsides or the downsides of a decision. Here's the pros to should. I will be rich. I will be smart. That's your big brain. I will be really, really good looking. That's you in the mirror, right? These are all the things that I could get as a benefit of subscribing. If I don't get this, I will, have more time to watch Netflix and chill. I will subscribe to, another channel where they give away a bunch of free stuff and I can spend my time watching that instead. Now, what are the downsides to doing it? Well, if I subscribe to her channel, maybe I can't subscribe to other channels. So it's options, too many of them. If I subscribe to this channel, maybe I won't have time to create my own content. So content doesn't have it. Then you have the remedies. Well, how can I both do the thing that I want to do, subscribe to the channel, and not have the downsides of decisions I have to make? The remedies for this could be something like, well, how about I create content first and then I watch the channel? So I only get to watch the channel if I create my own content first. Or I get to subscribe to her channel every time I unsubscribe from another channel. The point of this is you start to think about your decisions with pluses, minuses, and then things to manage the two. It becomes really clear once you do it this way what the decision should be. Now you know what you want to focus on.
I think that was just a fancy way of doing pros and cons for your business. I don't really have much to say on that, except that was a pros and cons list. How does that apply to small business? The only way I can think that it would apply is if you apply it to the things that you're trying to sacrifice. Pros and cons. Like that one client that I had a long time ago when I told her to shut the business down. She thought that one of the big cons was that if she sent her people home for 2 hours in the middle of the day, that they would not have enough money to survive. Therefore, they would quit and go somewhere else. She could have gotten around that by still paying them for that 2 hours, but she would have been able to still save some money on shutting everything down. And she didn't want to do that either because she thought the grill shouldn't get cold. I think probably the pros and cons there, how much money can you save? Is it worth it in the long run? Stuff like that. So I guess this lesson is basically like the fancy pros and cons of the decisions that you have to make to help your business survive, right? Let's see what our next tip is.
You, like me, probably have a slew of crazy ideas that still come to you in the dead of the night. It's a you can't sleep for thinking of them, or they're just random and you don't know where to put them. We started something called the Someday Maybe list. The Someday Maybe list is basically a list of stuff in this parking lot that maybe one day I'll eventually go and take some of the cars for a ride. But in the meantime, I'm just going to keep them there to keep my crazy at bay. This has helped me so much. I keep it on my phone. Anytime I have a crazy idea, I put it in there, and then I get it out of my head and into this list. Here's the rub. While you try to achieve something, people are going to try to tear you down. He taught me this thing called be comfortable in the backseat, which basically means they stole your words. Okay, they took your idea, whatever. They didn't give you credit. No big deal. What happens is it all comes around. You can always take a back seat, not have to be in the driver's position continuously, and realize that you guys are both going forward in the same direction. So let all of the people who steal your idea, who take credit, who push you in some way, shape, or form, let them drive for a minute, because what happens is they drive you faster to your destination. It doesn't actually matter. Be easy to find, hard to reach. So each day, the average person gets 41 texts, 100 emails, 5 phone calls. If you respond to each, that takes an average of, let's call it 3 minutes. That's 7 hours a day. Then you add all the tweeting, Instagram, and YouTubing. It's pretty easy to find yourself overwhelmed. I mean, I end up getting thousands of DMs and text emails per day. The harsh truth is there's just not time. It's overwhelming unless you own the fact that you don't have to respond to everybody. How do you decide why you're not going to respond to somebody? I think about my goals and my anti-goals. If you're feeling overwhelmed about what to respond to one way or the other, I go back to keeping the main thing the main thing. So if I have my anti-goals, they are things like being an employee, selling other people's products, speaking for free, taking coffee meetings. My actual goals are, I want to grow my company. I like hot yoga. I want to help a few people who are going to actually build, and I'd like a bubble bath every once in a while. If anything that comes in front of me doesn't hit one of my goals and hits an anti-goal, it's a no. And no is a full sentence. One of my friends, Alex Formosi, literally will text me sometimes to help me get better at saying no. Just screenshot of him saying the one word no with a period at the end to people asking him things. That is a pro move. If you don't use those two letters, other people's goals become yours. So you're hard to reach, but you still want to help people. You're going to get asked a lot of the same questions constantly on your rise to expert. I started creating first free products, then paid products because I got asked the same questions over and over again. How to start investing, how to buy a business. My best work is not me answering one-off emails and setting meetings to answer the same questions 452 times. Neither is yours. So if you're doing something more than 3 times and has more than 3 steps, start thinking about, can this be a blog, a Twitter thread? Can I create a product? Hell, write a book. Then the secret, when someone wants your time, you tell them, oh yeah, I wrote something on that. Here it is. Check it out and let me know what questions you have after that. Only about 1 in 10 people will actually follow up. If they want you to do the work for them, they should do some work first. The second tip is, as you create deeper and bigger content on the subject, you will literally have so much more value delivered to a human if you create it than if they one-off pick your brain. Either way though, whether they respond or not, you protect your time as opposed to have somebody take it away from you. If you guys want to see any of these tools that I think are going to lead us to becoming a $100 million media team, you can click the link below. We have a bunch of these free for you guys. You can just download them. This doc, I love. I call it my transfer stress doc, but what it actually is my weekly one-on-one doc. I check in with my employees every single week on the core KPIs, which means the thing that they're supposed to deliver each week. If they are yellow, aka at risk, green, aka gonna hit them, or red, not gonna hit them. They fill out this weekly one-on-one document for me, and this weekly one-on-one document then gets uploaded continuously to the same document. So if I see I have an employee that 5, 6, 7 weeks in a row isn't hitting their KPIs because everything's red really quickly, I know there's a fire there. Simultaneously, if I was an employee, I would use this exact same document. You are going to put yourself away from all the others if you proactively send your manager a weekly one-on-one agenda that basically says, hey, here's what I'm working on, the 5 things that matter in my job. Here's what I think's at risk. Here's where I think I'm gonna crush it. And here's where we're definitely gonna fall behind par.
I find that like if you want people to work really hard for you, not like clock in 5 out 40 hours a week, if you really, really want people to work hard for you, you also have to care about them a lot. And you also have to like really be there for them. And for me, that just means like building really, really true, genuine relationships with people. And you can't just do that by checking in monthly, by, you know, making sure that you're removing blockers and helping people prioritize. Like you have to know what they care about. You have to know, are they trying to build a family? Do they want to redo their kitchen? Like, are they going through a divorce? Do they just, like you have to build those relationships. By doing that, you also get the best out of people. And then when you inevitably are going to have to ask a lot of them, they're happy to do it because you've built like a really solid foundation.
Wait, hold on. I had an idea when he was saying that, and I suddenly wasn't sure if we were on the same page about that. So let me go back and watch that again real quick. I'm going to pause this so you don't have to watch it. Hold on 1 sec. Basically, I just wanted to check that he was actually talking about your employees, that you need to care about your employees. I agree with that because I don't know about you. I have worked for plenty of businesses where it seems like the company doesn't care about the employees, and the attitude that comes from that becomes very negative. Since I also work in the airline industry right now, I see that a lot. We have a company that doesn't really track us. We have this strange point system. We don't have any managers breathing down our neck. We just have a giant contract that we follow. And there's no incentive in the company that prompts us to be the best that we can possibly be for the company. There's no punishments for being the worst that you can possibly be. And it's kind of creates an atmosphere of not being cared about by the company. And I think if you really want your employees to be loyal, you do need to let them know that you care about them. Something as simple as letting them take a break can be a huge benefit. My oldest worked at a burger joint for about 3 months and ended up quitting because the owner was so obsessed with them constantly cleaning, even when nobody was in there, even when the place was already clean. I remember a long, long time ago when I was in high school, I worked at a Hallmark and it was spotless. The owner used to come by and look in the window at night and see if we were working. And if we weren't working, he wanted us to be vacuuming and organizing the cards and all this stuff. And it was spotless. It was pointless to just continuously walk around the store with the vacuum. Putting that kind of stress on your employees definitely is not going to help your business get to the next level. So I do agree with him. Care about them as if they were your own family. And you're going to create a larger job satisfaction. Let's see the final tip. We're coming to the end of this
For you. This thing looks like a lot, but it is so valuable. So this is my scorecard. Basically, Peter Drucker said, what gets measured gets managed. And this is true. If you don't pay attention to it, it won't grow and succeed. You don't get rich by accident, just like you don't get a 6-pack by accident. This scorecard has all the things that are important in my business. It could be in your life, and I track them each and every single week. On each Friday, I review the scorecard, inputting the metrics that matter, and figure out, did I achieve what I wanted to achieve this week? You don't have to pay somebody $120,000 to be your consultant. I just did it for you. You can break down all of these specific actions. But what I will tell you is, for every Steve Jobs, there's a Steve Wozniak. There's somebody behind the scenes that was the expert in the thing that they wanted to achieve. I would tell you, go find your who, because you can either pay to win with your limited hours on Earth, of which you can't make any more, or you can pay cash to trade for somebody else's. I like the second option. So
What'd you think? Does it apply to you? Does it not apply to you? Does it apply to where you are at your business right now? Does it not? Let me know in the comments below. I think it can apply to any business, but I am going to add just a little bit extra. Basically, what I got from this video is you want to delegate more. You want to not think about goals. You want to think about sacrifices. You want your pros and cons list, which I don't know if that necessarily helped. And then you got to have your list of things that you're working on. Those were my big takeaways. And let me just add a little bit more to that. This book right here, 6 Types of Working Genius. This is probably one of the best books I have ever read about delegation. I highly recommend you consider picking it up because they do this thing with these circles and this Venn diagram thing. Kind of tells you that each person in your business fits into one of these types of genius. And if you put them in the right position, you can trust them with it. You could take that off your plate. I think that's fantastic. As far as sacrifices versus goals, I think a lot of small businesses can't even worry about sacrifices. Worrying about sacrifices generally means where can you cut expenses in the business world. Am I right? And there are things that you can think of like that. It seemed to me that the video was saying sacrifices in your own life. Like, are you willing to give up yoga? I don't think that necessarily applies to most business owners. I think you do need to consider, do I need to cut this employee? Do I need to sell my business? I did a video last week where I said that your product dictates who your customer is going to be. If I were to say any kind of sacrifice in a small business, you should look at what's not selling and sacrifice that. I don't necessarily know that you have to sacrifice for yourself unless you're striving for that millionaire status. I think most small businesses aren't striving for the millionaire status. They're striving to survive. And this channel's goal is always to help businesses thrive instead of just survive. So I would say, as far as sacrifices go, just look at your inventory. Look at who's not working for your business. Look at, do you need to close certain hours? If you are in the service industry and you don't necessarily have customers coming into a business, then you can look at stuff like what areas do you need to not go to? She talked a lot about saying no. I think that's excellent. I always believe in the 80-20 rule, about 20% of your clients giving you 80% of your business and 80% of your clients only giving you 20% of your business. You should look at who is the 80% and who is the 20% in your business and consider switching your focus to those people. Like I said, repeat customers are usually your most loyal customers. People forget that, and they're constantly striving for the new customer. You need to reconsider that. I would say for most small business owners, one of the big problems is that they're trying to do everything, and they have a hard time trusting their employees below them. If you can build a trust network, if you can treat your employees better, you can take a lot of that stuff off of your plate without stressing. And I know how hard that can be because I have worked at companies where I have seen employees steal from their bosses. I'm aware of a lot of the issues that business owners do have to face. So I would say my biggest takeaway from this is be okay with delegating. Pros and cons, I mean, if you think it would help you, go for it. It seems to me that this coach's idea of coaching is for you to make a plan to get to the next step, make a plan to get to the next level, make a plan to get more customers. That's the takeaway that I got. I don't know about you. Tell me what you thought in the comments below. I would love to hear. I want to talk to you guys. I want to kind of get to know you guys better. If you liked the video, please hit like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Hit the notification bell if you want to see more like this. Once a month, I'm going to do just a week of reactions like this. And like I said, again, this week's reaction videos are going to be how to help you get more customers. Tomorrow, I am going to be doing another gentleman named Simon Squibb. He's in England, I believe. I'm not sure where in England, but he's definitely got an English accent. And he's kind of doing what I dream of doing with this channel. So see you tomorrow.